Fundamentally speaking, for the most part, your ego is a tactical thinker. Your ego just wants to feel good right now, and your ego is not a good strategic long-term thinker. That's the way it is.
And as you know, the topic of ego and humility comes up with every client. It's a theme that we have to address and we have to think about all the time. Is we went through this little drill about what does your ego say? You have to know what your ego is saying. It's not enough to just say, keep your ego in check. I mean, that's what you do, but you have to know how to do that.
It's a little bit of pattern recognition all day long.
Yeah.
It's like when salespeople, they learn pattern recognition to overcome objections. You know, when someone says, well, I'm not quite sure if I can afford it. They've heard that before and they recognize it and they've got to come back for it.
Yeah.
So this is a very similar thing.
And your ego default might be different than my ego default. The little thing your ego is going to say to you might not be the same thing that mine says to me. And so it's cool. So I picked 10. I wrote down 10. This is not an all-exhaustive list, but I thought the way we wrote them down, or I wrote them down, would be good. And I'm sure you'll have something to say about them as we go through it. And the first one that came up, what your ego says to you is, I'm right. I know that sounds very simple and pretty straightforward, but the I'm right, they're wrong in our conversation that we're disagreeing on about some solution or whatever it might be, the entire time what's happening is in my brain, my little ego's going, you're right, Dave. Yeah. Hey, in this conversation, you're right.
Fundamentally speaking, for the most part, your ego is a tactical thinker. Your ego just wants to feel good right now. And your ego is not a good strategic long-term thinker. That's the way it is. So the short-term thought is, I'm right, Dave's wrong. That's a short-term, I need to tell Dave that he's wrong. That's a short-term tactical thought. Whereas the strategic thought is, first of all, Dave might be right. Second of all, what's priority over being right and wrong is the relationship that we have, because I'm trying to build a good relationship with Dave because we have to work together and we have to try and assemble the best plans. And we have to come up with the best ideas together as a team. And if it's his ego against my ego, that's not going to happen. It's literally not going to happen. Just the same way that if you and I are in a boat and you're rowing in one direction and I'm rowing in the other direction, we're not going to make any progress. If your ego is fighting my ego, we're not going to make any progress. And since I can't control your ego and you're paddling really hard, the best thing I can actually do is say, looks like he's heading west. Cool. We're going west or we're going to go hard. And I actually paddle with you until you look back at me and you say, hey, you're on my side. And I say, yeah, absolutely. And I said, well, where are we going? And you say, well, we're going west. Do you see land out there? Well, not really. Well, do you want to take a look around? And now, since we're working together, we can actually get out the telescope and take a look around and see if I see land over here to the south. Let's start moving south together as a team. Yes, that sounds like a great idea. The only reason I was able to do that is because I subordinated my ego and said, okay, we're paddling west, Dave. Cool. I'm paddling hard. I'm with you. And I support you enough so you think I'm on your side, and your ego says, you know what? I'm the winner here. I get your little tactical ego thinking that it got the big victory, and then it can stand down and relax. And I go, hey man, do you see land up there? And you're like, well, not yet. Hey, do you want to take a look at the telescope? Okay, well, let's take a look. Oh, actually there's land to the south. Should we paddle that way? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to actually cede tactical victories to your ego so that I can win strategically. It's a very interesting concept.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that.
Number two.
Yeah, number two. I'm better than them. And this is a good one because especially in this group, when you come from like, hey, where did you get your education from? You know, where did you learn this? How much experience do you have? All these objective, measurable metrics that can say, you put your resume next to mine and look how much more I've done. I know more than you. I'm better than you at this. And which means we should do it my way.
My instinct at this juncture in my life is they're better than me and they know something I don't know. That's the instinct that's what I hear my internal voice. I don't want to call it the ego, but that's what I hear inside my head is when Dave says, hey, Jocko, we got this client. I think we should approach it like this. I think, well, Dave probably has this thing figured out. And listen, someone might be thinking, yeah, but Jocko, you're probably just getting steamrolled throughout your life. And come and hang out with me for a while. You can see that I'm not getting steamrolled in my life. I kind of get whatever I want in a weird way.
Yeah.
So terrible thing for your ego to say. And to your point, pattern recognition, if you can say to yourself, when I look at Dave and go, Dave doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm a lot better than him than this. This is a pattern recognition for you. When you think that, check it.
I think that right there is why this was such a good exercise.
That's a great exercise.
It helps that people think, oh, what is my pattern that I haven't seen, so I can catch myself as it's happening, so I know to do something different. And I'm going to go to the next one because I think the way you're doing this, which is the counterintuitive or the opposite thing you should do. The next one is super obvious. Don't listen to them. Well, and just take the exact same template, which is the exact opposite of what you should do when somebody's telling you something.
Yeah,
the exact opposite of what you should do.
You know what's incredible about listening is, the team is mad. What should I do? Listen to them. The team is frustrated. What should I do? Listen to them. The team is complaining. What should I do? Listen to them. The team is making excuses. Listen to them. Actually, listen to their excuses. You know how powerful that is to sit there and be like, pull out your notebook and start taking notes when someone's making a bunch of excuses? Listen to what they're saying.
Yeah. All right, these next two came up, and I should have put them together on this list. And I'm going to go. I'll say them both, and we can talk about it. One is, no one else can do this but me. But in the same breath, we had some people as we were going through this. This was in a group. Was I can't do this. If you get uncovered that you don't know the answer to this question, or you don't know how to solve this particular problem, or this thing that should be easy to do, this task that you've been given, you can't do it, you'll look dumb, you'll be exposed. It's very closely connected in this conversation, which is, don't take on that task, because if you do and you don't do it well, you're gonna be uncovered, you're gonna be exposed.
The one thing that's a little bit related to that is the idea of saying I don't know, which is a very tough thing for a lot of people to say. And the reason it's hard to say is because we think it makes us look stupid. A very similar thing.
Totally.
When the reality is, this is again when I was in the young guy going into the SEAL teams, and we had to go through our oral board. So you had to go and break down weapons and program radios and do combat trauma care and to do, pack parachute, like all these little things you had to do. And they would ask questions that no one would know the answer to, and if you try
by design, right?
Yeah, by design. Yeah. So they're going to ask you, the max effective range of some rare Soviet weapon. And you could try and BS them and you're going to fail. Or you can say, hey, I don't know the numbers behind that, but I know where I can look it up. And then you're fine. Yeah. But that's a huge lesson to learn for life, is to just be able to say, I'm not really sure about that. It's really nice not to have an opinion on everything. How many things do you need an opinion on? What do you deserve to have an opinion on? I think there's very few things that I actually deserve to have an opinion on.
Just saying the words, I don't know, not being willing to do that.
There you go. What's next?
So the next two are, I guess, two sides of the same coin. And this is about tendencies. And this came up, I thought this was really cool because it's a little bit, we talk about this at the muster when we talk the leadership loop. The one that your ego says, it's not that bad. You look at a problem, you look at an issue, a setback, a challenge, something that didn't go well, and your ego's like, it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. Which is its way of saying, hey, it's okay. It just protects you. It just, look at that, and this is no big deal. Which is really, part of it is ownership, and part of it is like, you don't have to admit to really doing anything wrong, because this problem really isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's a good one. When that happens is when like some key person leaves because of bad leadership. And the reaction is, they're not that big of a deal.
This is not a reflection of an endemic. No problem. This is not how the entire organization is.
Oh, really? Yeah. Was that how it is?
Yeah.
I like that one.
Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about here. And then the opposite is, anything that goes wrong, this is catastrophic.
See, this comes down to just egos being egocentric, where what you think is going on in your little world represents the entire world.
Yeah.
So as soon as, this is another thing that happens to people. Like, for instance, let's say you're getting nervous about, you got to go do a presentation. And if you fail the presentation, it's going to be catastrophic. This is a perfect example. So Dave's got to go present to this client. And if, Dave's like so nervous, and if he goes in there, if this doesn't go well, it's going to be catastrophic. And the reality is, like, the people that are watching you present, they barely even care. They don't even know what you're going to say. So how can they judge you? So an interesting thing about doing a presentation is they don't know what you're going to say. So you go in there and say what you're going to say, and it is what it is. But yes, if you let your ego get out of control, you think, I'm the center of the world. This presentation is important. Everyone is hanging on every word that I say. There's a bunch of people that are sitting on there looking at Instagram while you're talking. So you gotta let that go a little bit. Calm your nerves. No one's that concerned about what you are doing.
And then this one I thought was really good too is the last one on this list is I'm not going to get through to them. So we're having a conversation and maybe we're discussing what's the best approach to take on a particular plan or particular project, how we want to go, which way do we want to row? And I will give myself a reason. And the reason is I'm not going to get through to you, which is really my way of saying is that you're not going to listen to me.
I think it would actually be they're not going to understand, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to get through to them. I'm still saying, well, wait a second. If it's me, I can adjust what I'm saying. But if I just say, hey, look, I'm talking to Dave this afternoon. I'm not going to he's not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm talking to Dave this afternoon. I'm not going to get through to him. Hold on a second. Why not? What can I do different?
Yep.
So if you let your ego say they're not going to listen, which is a beautiful excuse.
Yeah.
They're stupid. That's a good one. They're dumb. I think I need to tighten myself up on that one. They're idiots. Then you have no way out. So,
yeah.
Right on.
And the point behind that was before you ignore what your ego is saying, making these awesome tactical moves that are actually just strategic disasters, you got to listen to it. You have to learn what it's saying. You have to open your own mind to hear what's going on in there. And the whole point behind that is if you don't know what your ego is trying to do to you, which really is to protect you, but it's for all the, it's all the right reasons and all the wrong ways. You have to learn. You have to learn that habit. And I've even seen you make the explanation. I do this now, which is you go, oh, I see what's going on here. And you're actually acknowledging, oh, I hear what you're saying to me. I hear you, ego. I hear you. You're trying to convince me that he's the problem. You're trying to convince me that he's an idiot. Thank you. Now I can tell it, I'm not going to do that. I can now I can ignore it.
Yep.
But I gotta learn to hear that first. And you keep talking about where you are and what your ego is saying. That's been trained. And it starts with knowing what it's saying. So you got to listen to it before you ignore it.
Yeah. Pattern recognition and voice recognition. It's like really voice recognition. Like, wait a second. I know you.
Yeah. I know. I hear you.
Awesome.
Anyway, that's it.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, if you want to get into these a little bit deeper, or you want to talk to us directly, you go to extremeownership.com. You can join our online leadership academy. We talk about this stuff. This stuff is what we live for. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to us debrief. Now go lead. This is Dave and Jocko out.